morning, everyone. My name is Kathleen McGinnis, and we want to welcome you to Ask the Expert for SmithLife Homecare. I'm here with my guest today, Tonya Kaz with ElderSAFE, and we will provide a short bio on her in just a few moments. SmithLife Homecare's Ask the Expert series focuses on providing valuable information and resources to our community trying to age in place, wherever that may be. We're excited today to discuss the many ways that ElderSAFE is helping and supporting our community at large to stay safe at home or wherever home may be. So I want to introduce and welcome our partner in care, Tonya Kaz, and thank you for being here, Tonya. We do have some questions we'd like to ask you today, but first, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to found ElderSAFE?
Sure. Thank you so much, Kathleen, for having me this morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. My name is Tonya Kaz, and I'm the director of the ElderSAFE Center, which is a program of Charles E. Smith Life Communities. The mission of the ElderSAFE Center is to provide safe shelter, community outreach and education, and advocacy on behalf of older adults who've been abused, neglected, or financially exploited. We started our program in 2014 and just celebrated our 7-year anniversary. By way of background, my training is I'm an attorney. I've been in the domestic violence and elder abuse field now for my entire career. And I'm a former prosecutor in Montgomery County, Maryland, and nonprofit manager in many different roles in my career. And so it's been my pleasure to direct our center and be able to help older adults be protected from abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation.
Thank you, Tonya. Wow, I learn something about you every time we talk. Truly, you're an amazing woman, and this is such a critical topic for ElderSAFE and elder abuse. So can you tell us a little bit about how elder abuse is defined or what forms of elder abuse there are?
Absolutely. Elder abuse is the mistreatment of older adults, and this can happen in any of the following ways. While most of us might be thinking of abuse as physical abuse, which of course can occur, there's also many other forms of elder abuse, which may be more hidden from plain sight. And we really want to be able to shine a light on that by talking about that today. So in addition to physical abuse, we also have sexual abuse, which can be very underreported in older adult population. There's psychological abuse or verbal abuse, neglect, self-neglect, and financial exploitation, which has become very common and pervasive in targeting older adults. And this doesn't just happen, as we'll talk about, by stranger scams. This also happens within the family unit and others who older adults rely on and trust in their lives. So elder abuse is very comprehensive, but typically one or more of the forms of abuse that we just talked about usually happens at the same time. And so older adults do need assistance to be able to stay safe from these forms of abuse.
Thank you for that explanation of some of the forms of elder abuse, Tonya. So are there some characteristics of older adults that may increase their vulnerability to abuse? If so, what are they?
That's a really great question. One of the tricky parts of screening for elder abuse is it's not just color by number. We oftentimes would never suspect that it's happening in this family or that family, but it is. Some of the key components to understanding elder abuse prevention is knowing, and this was so common, unfortunately, the last 2 years during COVID-19, is social isolation is by and far one of the most common predictors of elder abuse. So if an older adult is because they are either physically and or cognitively unable to connect with those in their community, whether that be friends, family, religious community, social service communities, they're far more likely to be on their own and have to navigate these tricky waters of, who to trust and how to go about that. So that is really a key factor, is social isolation and preventing that by staying connected. Other factors which are definitely important to understand are cognitive decline. So if an older adult is experiencing cognitive decline, of course, this doesn't happen all at once, but this can happen in stages. They may not understand, appreciate, or be able to protect themselves from those who seek to exploit them, abuse them, or neglect them. So really, it's important, again, to stay connected with one's medical professionals, doctors, healthcare professionals, to be able to, determine if you're going through that. And there are other warning signs as well. Again, it's not always so obvious that it's a bruise or a cut, because it's not always physical abuse, but as someone withdrawing, someone that who always attends book club in person or via Zoom, all of a sudden drops off. Those are some of the ways we want to make sure to ask the question, not just like, oh, I think Betty might be busy, but maybe there's actually something going wrong in someone's life. And so we want to make sure that we're outreaching to them and saying, can I help you in any way?
Mm-hmm. Excellent example. And unfortunately, I think you're very right that COVID and social isolation was a perfect storm of opportunity for some abusers out there. So does elder abuse usually occur within a family, or do you have some examples of where the abuse comes from?
Elder abuse can occur in any setting. So that could be a home setting, that could be, a long-term care facility or other group setting. But I think really one of the persistent myths is that it only happens in a care facility. But when we look at the research, which is still evolving on this issue, is that what we're finding is that most elder abuse is actually committed by someone that the elder knows. So this could be family members, intimate partners, adult children, grandson, granddaughter, niece, nephew. And if not, it's someone who quickly ingratiates themselves into the older adults' lives. So we're hearing a lot about romance scams right now. And that just doesn't happen over the internet. It can also happen in person. So what we're finding is the perpetrators of elder abuse, those that commit it, are someone that has a trusting relationship with the older adult. And that could either be, a family member, a spouse or dating partner, or someone who becomes their friend. And I put that in quotes because they really have self-motive at heart when they're targeting that older adult for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the myths is really that it happens like by a stranger only or someone who's not related, but that's simply not true.
Good point. I think older adults, can often be abused by their caregivers, as you said. I'd also like to just mention that, it's one opportunity where a professional agency like SmithLife Homecare can have eyes on the scene. Our nurses do a supervisory visit with our clients every 90 days, and they are trained to spot issues that you just mentioned. So on to our next question. What other settings might elder abuse occur?
So I'd like to talk about, since many older adults prefer to age in place in their home, we do really need to pay attention. And I'm so glad you brought up caregivers, so many of whom, the vast majority, do not commit elder abuse and are loving, caring individuals in the older adults' lives. But for those who seek to exploit an older adult, caregivers, whether they be, unpaid like family members or friends, or hired caregivers like from an agency, they too can commit elder abuse, neglect, and or financial exploitation. What we're seeing is really a pattern where it may not start off that day on day one, and typically abuse patterns don't. Things might actually start off quite well, but as there becomes a greater dependency on the caregiver and reliance on them to do all things, things start to maybe slip outside the confines of the contract and start to become more personal. And perhaps the caregiver is doing more for them in ways that the family doesn't even know or ask them to do. And in that way, caregivers then might have growing control over the older adult. And that is not always the best dynamic. So, like you mentioned, agencies can really play a vigilant role in making sure that their contracts are clear, that they train, and we do that kind of training. They train their staff to make sure that they don't slip into that role of blurred roles. And also, caregivers can also be very alertive if someone else is exploiting the older adult to make sure they report that.
Excellent point. So if elder abuse is suspected, what is the best number for the community at large to call?
Thanks for that question. We really want everyone, whether they're mandated reporters or just, people who care about the older adult, to feel empowered to call Adult Protective Services. I know that you'll be sharing a slide with these resources, but I'll just tell you what the numbers are in our local region. Adult Protective Services in Montgomery County is 240-777-3000. In other Maryland counties outside of Montgomery County, 1-800-332-6347. In Washington, D.C., 202-541-3950. And in Virginia, 1-888-832-3858. And again, all of these numbers will be shared at the end of the presentation.
Excellent. So we have 3 questions left, and one of them is, what is the ElderSAFE Center? When was it established? Although you just said you celebrated 7 years, congratulations. But your mission and your services, maybe you could give us just a minute or two on that.
Sure, absolutely. We have 3 priorities in our ElderSAFE Center, and the first is to provide for client services. We do that through our language accessible helpline. Again, we are not where you would make a report of elder abuse, but if someone needs safe shelter within our long-term care community or independent living community and meets our eligibility requirements, they could call our helpline Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, which is 301-816-5099. When they do that, we typically ask for agency referrals, but of course, an older adult can call on behalf of someone as well. They'll speak to our licensed clinical social worker, our program manager, who will then screen the case to see if it is eligible to come onto our campus. And so we have criteria for that, which we can explain when someone makes a referral. That's our first priority area. Second, which is so important, is community outreach and education. And we have another staff member dedicated to that as well. So what we do is we train anyone and everyone to be an ambassador, to understand the signs of elder abuse and how to report. And so whether you're with an agency, a hospital, a village, a faith community, you can receive this training for free. And again, you can call our helpline, and our website will be provided at the end of the presentation, and request such a training. And in non-COVID times, you'll often see us out in the community at World Elder Abuse Awareness Day outreach events and things like that. But we also do, education in any way that the group requests. And I should also note, if you don't speak English or your group does not, we also have partnerships to be able to have interpreted trainings, and our brochures and materials are all in the leading languages in Montgomery County. So language should not be a barrier. And thirdly, what we do is advocacy. We advocate on an individual level for our clients, and we also do what we call coalition building and systems advocacy, leading groups and participating in groups to further strengthen the coordinated community response to elder abuse in our region. So that works very well. I think of our program as always innovating and learning, and we hold national webinars every month. That's been the silver lining of COVID. And you can absolutely sign up for free for these learning opportunities on our website, which will be shared at the end.
Great. Wow, that's significant outreach there, Tova. Well done. And I know SmithLife Homecare is a community partner in our outreach and advocacy as well. What other community partners do you work with? I know education is a big key to your success in helping older adults.
Yes, we're very always looking to innovate and add on more partners. We appreciate the partnership with your organization, area hospitals, where we train medical staff who are mandatory reporters to recognize the signs, other social service groups throughout the entire DMV region, because we serve all of Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia, senior centers, community groups, villages, which are geographical communities that often sponsor programs and help older adults who are aging in place. So really it's endless, those that we educate. And again, we consider that the main part of what we do to really rise up knowledge on this issue, because it's very underreported.
Yes. Okay, so this is our final question. So can you share with our audience what the best resources are to learn more about elder abuse, Tova?
So there are a lot of resources out there. Certainly our website at ElderSAFE has some of the signs and who to call, which we've talked about. But if you're wanting to learn more or just get, one pagers on various topics related to elder abuse, one of the best resources I know of is the National Coalition on Elder Abuse. And that website is ncea.acl.gov. And again, we'll share this at the end. And that has a wealth of information to learn more and to identify resources in the community that can assist.
Tova, that is just so much information. It's really great to know that you are in the community and your team. And I've seen you live, or your team, at villages and many other events. So we appreciate you and thank you for all the work that you do in the community. Any last comments? And just to let our viewers know, we will have a slide with the phone numbers, websites, and information that Tova has mentioned to you all. Any last comments, Tova, before we sign off?
I would like to say that sometimes this issue is difficult and a lot of people might feel uncomfortable. So if they see a neighbor or someone that they care about in distress, they might not want to call Adult Protective Services because they're not sure if something is actually happening. And please remember, you don't have to be 100% sure. What we're trying to do is connect folks who may need assistance, who are suspected of being victims of elder abuse, to have them receive resources. And no one will be upset with you if you were wrong about that, but calling can never hurt. So I just urge everyone to look out for each other, and especially during this time of COVID, increased social isolation. Please be that neighbor or a friend that does something and is proactive. And I thank you so much for the opportunity to share our program with you and our partnership together.
Thank you, Tova. And I would just like to mention in closing, SmithLife Homecare is a partner in care with Charles E. Smith Life Communities. We have 2 offices in Rockville and 1 in Washington, D.C. So Montgomery County and Washington, D.C. are our service areas. And we do a thorough background check on our caregivers, and they are insured, bonded, etc., before they are engaged. The phone number to call for SmithLife Homecare, if you are interested in agency services, is 301-816-5020. And again, my name is Kathleen McGinnis. I'm Director of Community Relations for SmithLife Homecare, which has been in business with Charles E. Smith Life Communities for over 22 years. So thank you to our audience for being with us today. We appreciate you too. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you later on this month. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.